Hi there, racing fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways, where Laf and I are going to give you all the latest stories. And we've got some very interesting stories today, and we'll be chatting to jockey Brandon Larena in York Hall. He's kindly coming into the studio to tell us about his life, and quite an interesting young man he is, and quite a good little rider, right there.
Yeah, doing well. Nothing wrong with that. Boys. A family steeped in racing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll find out all about them. Let's go straight into our three to follow. Right, well, the first one of our three to follow, we go to last Tuesday's racing at Scottsville, and Laf, my co-presenter and man right on my right-hand side, will be able to tell us about this. A very nice horse called Vidicio. He ran a really good race.
Yeah, it's a smart debut. You know, his half brother, that very quick filly Valant we had. Funnily enough, we looked up, we phoned our friend in Argentina to find out about the races that the family come from, and it's a very, very strong family from a top stud. And this horse has got a wonderful pedigree.
He's a nice looking horse too. Yeah. Nice big liver chestnut. Love the colour. Let's go and pick him up. Graham Gregorowski rode him for you. Yeah. He looks like he's trying to get his career back on path this point.
He's working very hard. He does a lot of work for us. He works very hard in the morning. So well done to him. He comes out nice and sprightly and gets up quite close to the speed. And I thought he wasn't really tuned that much. And he's going to be a miler. He's a big, beautiful horse, but he runs a great race. You can see him. The winner is in orange. That goes on clear. This wins by a street. It really wins well. Aurum Pot. We're in behind that in green and in Budgie Burns colours. Alongside us in the blue is the horse of Joey Somers, Captain's Pleasure.
Yeah, he was rumoured to be the good thing, but he looks like he needs more ground. But your sail past him here. He's got the green cap right in the middle of your screen now. Yellow sleeves, and Gregorowski now asks him to run, and he starts to pick it up. Still green, looks like he's not quite got it all together.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know, Aurum Pot's gone, the race is over. Terra Nova is the horse that's a short head in front of us at the line, and that's had some useful form, Terra Nova. That had form. So it's pleasing. Of the unraced horses, he was the closest, and I really think he's going to be a good miler one day, one to follow.
Well, what was interesting about this race is that the Laird stable, Alec Laird stable, backed the first timer, Bobby Dazzler, and it ran away with Kevin Shea on the way to the start. Well, lucky it ran away with Kevin Shea, because I can tell you would never have beaten this horse, Aeropod. This horse is gelded, came back from a gelding, got some smart form, and they would have had egg on their faces. But anyway, and I think they admitted, Alex said to me, he said, oh, lucky that horse was taken out at the start.
Yeah, that's right. But Aurum Pot was a fantastic win.
Good win. Let's move on and have a look at the second one, which is Flitter. And we went to the Val Sand to find one. There was a shortage of horses because there was no racing at Kenilworth this week. And we raced basically on the Val Sand. But this ran a cracking good race.
Yeah, this is the horse we found, Flitter. And we thought he ran she ran a very gallant race in defeat. And we got races that are building up towards the big sand day coming up in September. And I think this horse runs a good race. And what makes it a good race, James, is the way it fights back and where the third horse finishes.
Well, has she been on the sand before, this filly?
I have no idea, but this was a good run.
Well, she's certainly up there with the speed. The two that fight it out are first and second at the moment, and she's in the famous Bernard Cantor colours, just hitting the front here. Roy Magna trained winner is on the inside with
Shattered Image. That had to have a huge chance. Shattered Image, I thought, was the horse to beat. And what I liked about Flitter's run here, the rest have been scrubbed to try to get into the race, and Shattered Image runs up alongside her, and possibly goes 3/4 of a length clear before Pierre Stradom gets this horse Flitter to come back.
Well, here the two start to look like they got the race to themselves, but behind them is Speed's trained Lammerskral horse. None of them really get a blow in. And when you see the distance between the first two and the third horse, 18.5 lengths.
18.5 lengths between second and third. They're really drawing away. And here the favourite is going, well, Shattered Image is going to win this. No, it's going away. And Stratum gets Flitzer to come back again. Just here, the fans of Stratum thought, well, hang on, we haven't done our money. This horse is coming back. It's a really good run. And runs alongside. And for a stride or two, you think, well, Stratum's timed it well. But Shattered Image goes on again to beat Stratum. But as I say, this 18.5 lengths back to the third horse. This filly has got to be.
They just arrived. Yeah. And then another 4 or 5 to the fourth, another 5 or 6. Trouble Up Front ran unplaced. He was rumoured to be quite a good horse early on in his career. Gone backwards. But he certainly went backwards in a race like that. We move on to the next one. And Dennis Dreyer is on fire at the moment, and he stepped out the beautifully bred Schiffer after a year's break. She came to Clearwood, and all the connections were there as well. So this was pretty impressive.
Yeah, good to see her back. She's a beautiful daughter of Vaughan. She lowered the colours of Via Africa first time out. She was beaten at 14 by Ramyo, still unbeaten. Then she won again, and she injured herself, and she's had a long break, and here she comes back. Beautiful daughter of Vaughan, all the speed in the world, James.
On her outside, Cherry Tripper, who's quite quick. There were a couple of quite useful fillies, but she's got them off the bit here. And what's impressive is you see she just geared down at the finish.
Yeah, I really like this. Nice to see the whole gang come in from Cape Town to come and watch the horse. And
well, the best rugby coach in the world, who's coaching the Brumbies, Jake White, was there, and great to see him.
Yeah, I had a word with him. I spoke to him, and
I think he's a genius. And how we got him coaching in Australia when we've got the Springboks battling under, one of the scarps, as you used to call them.
Funny enough, they won their last 8, the Springboks. So let's hold our thoughts for a moment.
Let's see this weekend.
Yeah, let's see. Here's Schiffer just being punched out. Very impressive. This is going to go racing through the divisions.
Is she a filly that will get more ground? Because they tried her over 1400. She got beaten by Ramya. We know how good that filly is.
She might well do. The Vars have been very surprising. You've got horses that are going 2-6. You've got Horse of the Year. An absolutely brilliant stallion. Now, this is a big girl, but she's very robust. Who knows? Dennis will feel his way through, I think.
Okay, we're going to go and have a look at the Blast from the Past, where we've got very interesting footage for you, courtesy of John Frankham. He's given us permission to use this footage, and it is of Oh So Sharp winning the Triple Crown for fillies.
Regains the lead next to the rails from Al Bahathri in second place. Oh So Sharp is third. Billy Kyer is flying at the finish with a white face on the very wide outside. But inside the final furlong, Al Bahathri and Bella Calora. Very little to choose between the two. Lester Pickett and Tony Murray. Bella Calora and Al Bahathri. It's a ding-dong battle up towards the line. A photo finish, Al Bahathri and Bella Calora. Then Oh So Sharp.
And then probably the easiest and the most confident he'd ever been was Epsom. And then you're faced with the undulations, a unique track. Is she going to cope with everything that goes on the day? Well, she just handled everything. And when you think back, she beat Triptych 5 or 6 lengths in the Oaks. If you're good enough to win from a mile to a mile and a half, that's like saying, you've got a 100-metre runner, and also we're going to win the 800 metres as well. People just don't do it. But she did it, and she was a remarkable filly.
Furlong and a half to go, and Steve Cawthon strikes the front and goes for home, and the race looks all over in a matter of strides. This is an impressive turn of foot shown by Oh So Sharp. She's drawn away from Triptych, Divine back in third place inside the final furlong, and it's Oh So Sharp for 6-4 favourite. Steve Cawthon and Henry Cecil on a real high this week. It's Oh So Sharp who wins the GoldCircleRacing. Oh So Sharp the winner, Triptych second, Divine third, then Killinitsky 4, Bella Calora 5.
And then went on to win a Ledger, and it really tested her stamina. The last classic she won, she really was running on empty from a long way out, and it was just sheer guts and a great ride from Steve Cawthon that saw her home. She wasn't particularly bred to stay at all, but she just had the heart to win, and she's a worthy number 10 for me.
trying to come back next to the rails is Lanfranco. It's oh so sharp from Lanfranco, but far down to the Joker and the pack staying on. However, the Phil's going to win it coming up towards the line. Oh so sharp wins the ladder. Oh so sharp far down to
Well, isn't it fabulous to watch a filly that good winning? I think she's the last filly to win the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
The Guineas, the Oaks and the St. Ledger.
Superb filly. You know,
Fantastic.
She had everything. She had speed and she stayed. And as he said, I think she was running on empty.
Yeah, and Steve Corton rode her. I think
Yeah.
Henry Cecil trained it, didn't he?
Yes. So very, very impressive horse. And those colours, you don't see those colours much anymore. Just a little bit. They've all gone Godolphin, haven't they?
Yeah, well, they were the original Sheikh, and
Yeah.
he died, didn't he?
No. Sheikh Mohammed's colours, those. Yeah, and then
they all went into Godolphin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
He's still got one or two. I think he does use those colours for the famous silks. Mace won a good few. He won a couple of classics in those silks.
Mace loved riding for them. Went to Chicago to ride in, I think, the Arlington Million.
Yeah.
He went to America a couple of times. Mace told us about his exploits in America, which were quite fun.
Yeah.
With those colours. Pretty damn good. Oh, so sharp. She was beautifully named, and what a racehorse too. We love bringing you those type of blasts from the past. We're going to move on and have a look at the plum of the week.
Sage Throne going to angle to the outside. Alexander, though, burst into the lead as they came to the 300. Night to remember. Sage Throne now looms to the outside. He's still got about 3 to make up, but he is starting to warm up nicely. Alexander at the 200. Sage Throne and Night to remember now coming out. Alexander digs down the last 100, and it's Alexander. Eaton Mess is running late, but Alexander's won it. Alexander fended them off. Night to remember second, Sage Throne, and then came Eaton Mess. Alexander made that move at around the 900-metre marker.
Well, you might say, why the plum of the week? Well, 28 to 10, I rang Johnny Stark at about midnight last night watching the golf. I just thought, well, you know, suddenly this hit me. This might be because of the ride.
Who won the golf? Just changing tack.
They haven't won yet. They play today. It's Labor Day holiday in America today or whatever, and they play today. Garcia, I think 3 or 4 in front.
Oh, good for him.
Playing very well. And he's probably got rid of that caddy that
Greg Herman.
Yeah,
no, he'll still be there.
Yeah, so that's why he's come well. You know, Greg's parked off with Alvaro Cueros. I saw him at the airport the other day. He told me that he's moved on. And
so, what price was this horse?
This horse was 28 to 10 with the bookmaker starting price, 33 to 10, 7 to 2 with Interbet. But the big thing about the Interbet is that if you looked at the weights for this race, he didn't deserve to win.
Yeah.
But I thought that Anthony Del Pesce rode one of his best races because he pinched a break at exactly the right time to beat the 2 top weights. You know, the 2 horses that ran in the Gold Cup, Sage Throne and Night to Remember.
Yeah.
And that was a brilliant piece of jockeyship. And maybe he wouldn't have backed it because he wasn't well in at the weights, but it was a hell of a good price for a great ride, and deserved to get the plum of the week, the ride of the week he should have got. Anyway, we're going to move on and have a look at current affairs. We've got some quite interesting stuff there. Let's go and see that.
Right, welcome to Current Affairs, and we had one Group 3 race around the country. It was on the sand, the August Stakes. We're building up to a big day of racing in Gauteng, and this was a good pointer, if I can use that.
Well, certainly a triumph for Y.O. Marwing. He ran first and second in the race, and the winner got 7.5 kilos from the second horse, but Y.O. seems to get them well for this type of race. Let's go and have a look.
So handy too.
Behind those is Snowden, 3 to 4 to go. Across the ice further back, behind those it came, here comes Billy. 700 metres left to go, and Uncle Tommy down the inside with Contador down the centre. Cut out the early pace. Eugene's and Tipo Tinta behind that, then Astro News. Further back to across the ice, 2 lengths to go. Storm Surf is ranging up on the outside with Here Comes Billy. Then Yukon Golden, nice stride, isn't out of it on the stand side. As they come down with 300 to go, and here comes Billy. Strikes the front in the August Stakes. On the inside is Uncle Tommy. In behind that comes Contador. Across the ices towards the inside. But it's Here Comes Billy in the August Stakes. Leads by 2 lengths from Uncle Tommy, who tries to bridge the gap. But it's Here Comes Billy. And Here Comes Billy has gone on to beat Uncle Tommy. Third placing will go to Contador, and fourth to Nice Stride. Eugene's across the ice. Tipo Tinto, Storms.
There we go. Here comes Billy. A great pointer towards the Emerald Cup at the end of September. Some really good racing. We saw a couple of good horses win on the sand. It's going to be interesting on that day, James.
Should be a great day's racing, as it always is. And as I said, 7.5 kilos between the winner and the second. Uncle Tommy, I think, was a horse that was chucked out of Bass's yard, wasn't he?
Is that right? I don't know.
Years ago. He's quite old now. He's getting on. And he's been a tremendous servant for Hassan Adams. I think he won in Cape Town a couple of times, and he certainly won up here a couple of times.
Done well in the sand. Was a very good run. The winner, Sawanga Kumalo, timed it perfectly. He went straight
he's on fire, that kid. He's looks like he wants to chase the championship, and you know, we'll hear what Brandon's got to say about that later.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to ride everywhere. But let's move on. There was a very interesting race overseas, the Solario Stakes. And James, we're starting to get real pointers now towards the big ones in England for the young horses.
Well, this is the early favourite for the 2000 Guineas, Kingman. And we thought we'd show it to you because there's been some quite interesting news around Khaled Abdullah, Juddmonte International. James Doyle is now the new stable jockey for them. And very interesting that they haven't had a stable jockey for a couple of years. And Teddy Grimthorpe made the announcement this week.
Teddy, okay. I see that he had 3 wins at Royal Ascot, James Doyle, not Teddy, James Doyle. So that's probably cemented his position to get him a big job, and I think he'll be a very good rider, this guy.
Well, let's go and have a look at this, because this looks like the right horse at this early stage for the 2000 Guineas. They say that Dewhurst is his next start, or he'll go to France in the middle of October. Let's go and see what happens.
Bend, and out of it a right-hand turn. Music Theory now has a pretty comfortable 2 to 2.5 length lead, and towards halfway the pace doesn't appear to be that strong. Emirates Flyers in second place. Kingman now comes up on the outside of Rosso Corsa to just edge into third place, and now they turn their heads in towards the home straight. So at the halfway stage of the Betfred Mobile Solario Stakes, the Godolphin pair, Music Theory, Emirates Flyer, with Kingman now switched towards the outside, and Rosso Corsa now tucked in last of all. They head then uphill, 2.5 furlongs left to go, and this is the point where the hype clashes head on with reality as Kingman now makes his move on the outside. The Godolphin pair, Music Theory and Emirates Flyer, are both bustled along. Kingman and James Doyle now. James asked him to lengthen his stride here. Kingman, he's gone 2 lengths clear now from Music Theory and Emirates Flyer. Then back in fourth place, Rosso Corsa. Kingman will remain unbeaten, comfortable enough as they head towards the line, confirming the promise of his Newmarket debut. Kingman, he wasn't rampant, but he was good enough, and he beat Emirates Flyer and Music Theory by a couple of lengths. Last home, Rosso Corsa.
Yeah, Kingman, there we are, James. Very impressive. It remains unbeaten. What did you think?
Well, you know, when I watched the race, I know they're talking about the early favourite for the 2000 Guineas. He didn't look like, to my mind, a 2000 Guineas winner. He's obviously quite smart.
Yeah, there's a horse who won in Ireland called Great White Eagle by Elusive Quality, who the money's starting to come for now. Well,
they'll always have 1 or 2, but it's still pretty early in the season. You know, you've still got a couple of Group 1s to come, and then you've got the 3-year-old races leading up, and you find horses improve quite a lot over the winter. So it will be very interesting to see if this horse moves up a notch, or he's going to move up a notch or 2. He's certainly not Frankel. But let's go and see what happens with him. But just some more news.
Let's take a quick break, James. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah, okay, let's take a break.
Well, there we were. James and I were talking about the young horses over in the UK. And as I agree with you, James, what happens in the winter is completely different. You have to. Some horses don't winter that well and don't go on to become the stars they were when they were younger.
Yeah, but certainly we're starting to see horses stepping out that look like the right horses. But just talking about Kingman for a moment, he won his first start convincingly. He's got big raps on him, but I'm not sure that he's as good as they might think he is. I don't know that he beat that much, and we will see. In 6 months' time, we'll know.
When is the Dewhurst? That always is.
The Dewhurst is the middle of October. And there's a big race in France, Prix Jean Prat, I think it is.
Yeah.
And on the 16th, the 12th of October is the Dewhurst at Newmarket, and the 16th is the Prix Jean Prat. They're going to make a decision where they go. This horse is out of a Zaminda mare, so he'll stay, and he might easily end up being a better Derby horse in 2000.
Yeah. John Gosden and Khaled Abdullah spreads him around. No?
Apparently, he's just signed on Dermot Weld in Ireland as one of his trainers. Never had
very good trainer.
Dermot Weld's a fantastic trainer. I remember when he came over here in the early 70s to ride in an amateur jump race at Scottsville.
Okay.
And he won it easily too. I think he might have ridden a horse called Poplin. He was a very, very good rider, Dermot Weld, indeed. A very good jump jockey. And he came over here and rode in it. Not quite as good as Steve Smith-Eccles, who fell at the second last at Turpentine on his debut in South Africa.
Now that name rings a bell. When I was over in England visiting the British Racing School with Craig Benton, I saw something about Steve Smith-Eccles. He teaches guys how to fall. Yeah. They've got a mechanical horse with all the mats, and so that's where he's ended up.
He's got two jobs. He teaches people how to fall, and he does tent trekking, they call it, which means that he goes from venue to venue, telling people about how to bet and what to bet, and he's a very ebullient, bubbly type of character.
And
Steve.
Why is it called tent trekking?
Well, because you go Derby, big days like the Derby and Guineas and that. He goes
Marquis.
from tent to tent trekking, and he tells people what to do. He gets paid a couple of £1,000, you know.
So he's a tent puller.
Yeah, he's a tent puller.
Well done to him, eh?
Steve, he's a very nice chap. He came to South Africa to ride in the finale of our hurdle racing in Johannesburg. He rode one for me, which we put the lights out on.
And did it win?
He fell in the second last when he was absolutely cantering to the front.
So he knows how to fall.
He was not our best mate at that. And we sent a message to the weighing room at Wincanton or where they started the racing of the next season, saying congratulations on a very successful trip to South Africa, and asked the clerk of scales to read it out to the weighing room. So then everyone asked him, geez, what happened in South Africa? He had to say he was the only faller against Barry Taylor and Gail Foxcroft and Nigel Riley and Buddy Maroon. All those guys were riding in the race. So, you know,
Gee,
Dominic
Lane, hey?
Dominic Zaki, I think he rode as well. They all rode in the race.
Hey?
Yeah.
Memory lane with Charles Hawtrey.
Okay, well, let's go back to current affairs and talk about Baden-Baden.
Yeah, that's right. And now this is the race that was won by, was it the
Dane Dream?
Dane Dream. It wasn't allowed to leave the country.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What was the race was called? Longines Grosso or something?
Group 1? Grosso from Prix. Grosso Prix from Baden-Baden. It's a Group 1 novelist one. He's the best horse, probably one of the best horses in Europe at the moment. And he's by Monson. He's trained by Andreas Waller. Eduardo Pedrosa. I think he's a Mexican.
Yeah,
rode him. He rides in Europe now. He used to ride in America.
There's some very good Mexican riders. James, but what about this horse Alpha?
Oh yeah, the Bernardini. I see you had a Bernardini that one.
Tuck Deer won yesterday.
Tuck Deer,
He's
another
by
Bernardini.
Bernardini. So,
well, Alpha won the Woodward at Saratoga. They're winding down Saratoga. It's the last meeting today. Monday is the last meeting. It's the big bank holiday in America. And the last day of the meet, they have a 3-week meet at Saratoga Springs. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, Alpha won. He's owned by Godolphin, trained by Kieran McLaughlin, big Kieran.
Yeah, Johnny Velasquez.
Johnny V, yeah.
Very good jockey.
Fantastic rider. Johnny V, still riding them to sleep.
What about, now there's this drama unfolding in America with Louis Sale. What's the story there?
Louis Sale won, what was it, the Travers for D. Wayne Lucas.
Yes, that's
and
right.
the connections of the second horse have accused him of using electronic device, okay, on Will Take Charge.
Well, that's right. Will Take Charge. Won the $1 million Travers. That's right. A week ago.
Yeah, the runner-up connections have filed a complaint with the New York Racing Gaming Commission.
That must have been Marina. That was a run-up. That was called Marina.
Marina, that's exactly
So
right.
what have they said?
They said that they have footage of him putting something under the saddle, okay, on the way to the post. Now, who knows what he is doing under the saddle, but it's very interesting.
So they're saying, listen, we want to find out what he did. And D. Wayne Lucas, he's responded.
Well, he's the trainer. He says absolute nonsense. So does the jockey's agent say it's rubbish. Nothing.
So all they saw was him putting his hand underneath.
So saw him fiddling under the saddle. Who knows what was going on? And that is the hot news of the American press, and it shows you. There's always
controversy.
There's a little bit of something going on everywhere, and you never know how it pans out. That's what makes racing such fun.
Yeah, that's right. James, what was very good during the week was the KZN Awards dinner.
Yeah, fabulous dinner at the Elangeni.
Great function, beautifully put together, good entertainment, and good to see the prizes being spread a bit this year.
Oh yeah, I thought that Klavervlei winning the Breeders' Award was fantastic.
That
they were all
a
there.
number of wins.
The number of wins during the KwaZulu-Natal in KwaZulu-Natal during the year.
Yeah.
So they had more wins than anyone else. Notable absentees were, Summerhill. They normally
I would have thought they would have won it. So they got beaten a number of wins in Natal.
Yeah, and it was great that guys made an effort to come to the awards. It was a good dinner.
And Bill Lambert in fine form with his speech.
Yeah.
Impromptu speech.
Fantastic, Bill Lambert. How was the story about the car?
Had everyone laughing their heads off. Bill's a natural, really.
Well, we're trying to get him on the show. We would like to have him in the next week or two because he must have a story to tell us too.
He's always got a story to tell.
But we've got to be careful about the stories, There's some people don't like some of these stories that we have.
Yeah, well, that's racing. And James, anything else before we move over to Brandon?
No, I think that's it. Let's go and find out what the young man's got to say for himself, and your call.
Second position, but Military Roses giving them a bath. That's one of the biggest millions I've ever seen. Grace Villana, the leader. Grace Villana. Grace Villana.
Well, there you go. Magic Millions, a lovely place to be. But racing's a very interesting business because families that have got involved in it usually run for generations in the racing business. And one of the families that really has been involved in racing for as many years as we care to know is the Lorena family. And they're trainers all over the places. They've been jockeys, been owners, they've been breeders. And I've gone a long way with this family, but some of them are quite rough, but most of them are very nice chaps. And Brandon, you fall into the category of being a very nice young man.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Thanks for having me.
But nice to have you here on the show because we've been chasing you around. You're very busy. You've got a big family to look after, not only your own family, but your immediate family. The Lorenas all started with the grandfather of yours that came over here from Argentina?
Yeah, my Grandpa Bob, formerly known as Bob. His real name's Ricardo.
Yeah.
Came from Argentina. And he also set up a little training sort of thing out of his house in Germiston. And I think that's where it all started.
And he was a pretty successful trainer, as it turned out.
Well, I don't really know the ins and outs about it. We weren't really told about it, but there's a lot of pictures on the wall. He had his own colours, mauve and black. And there were some good horses, I'm sure, that he trained.
Now you've got a whole lot of uncles and aunts. There are a lot of uncles, aren't there?
Yeah, my gran and grandfather didn't have a TV. So,
You've got a TV, but you seem to be going along the right way.
no, I had to get another one in the bedroom. That seems to be doing the trick. It's holding me at bay. They had two daughters and 6 sons, if I stand to be corrected. My Uncle Pierre, my Uncle Robert.
Count them out.
My Uncle Pierre, my Uncle Robert, my Uncle Gilbert, my Uncle Anton, Uncle Spark.
Yeah.
So the 5 uncles and the 2 aunts, Auntie Yvonne and my mother.
Yeah. And they've all been mad about racing and involved in racing.
Yeah, I think everyone in our families, I think, like everyone says, it's in your blood. When it's in your blood, it's hard not to love the horses. I think the main thing that inspires us into racing is the horses, the peace and I think it's mainly the horses. We all love the horses.
I think that's a sort of thread through most families that become involved in racing, is that, you know, ongoing, you look at the lads and you look at the Sivrites and all those type of people, they all seem to love the horses. That seemed to be your primary function too.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up on a farm in Kalami, and, you know, the only thing that was spoken of was horses, you know. Obviously on Saturday there was a rugby, the Curry Cup, but it was mainly the horses. We always used to sit by the radio when commentary was still broadcast on 702. My grandfather had his pick 6 or his PA going, and we all would shout for him. And we had the horses on the farm, also drew us in a bit more.
And your famous uncle, or probably the most famous of your uncles in the racing business, is Spike, and Spike's been a very, very good trainer. You have any influence on you?
Yeah, there were some good times. We had his son Stephen and my other uncle Anton's son Kevin, who's now a boxer.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Kevin, but we'll come to him just now.
Yeah, we used to go to the stables in the school holidays, and he never really let us ride work. I think he was a bit too scared to let us into the game, but it didn't stop us. But he, you know, even to this day, he supports myself and Gavin, and he's a very good trainer. He's lucky to have Mr. Barnard now, who supports him quite nicely. And before the clubhouse was burnt down at Randfontein, you'd only see yours and his name on all the boards there.
Well, the point was that we started there at Randfontein in the beginning. I was the first trainer there, and he was the second trainer there. And Spike and I have always been very, very good friends. I count him as one of my very good friends. I think he's been a fantastic guy in racing.
Yeah, he has, and there's a lot of people like him that we have to be grateful for in racing. You know, they've been through thick and thin, and they've always stood by the racing.
Well, in the early days, you had Jungle Rock. Were you very young when you had Jungle Rock and a couple of those really good horses that he had in those days?
Yeah, I was still quite young then, still in primary school. One filly that I remember quite fondly was Saba Center when she won the Oaks. I'll never forget that day. We were all sitting at home and we were watching it on SABC. And my aunt and my gran couldn't stop crying. It was just lovely, you know. That also was a crucial moment in my life where I decided what I wanted to be.
And because of that, you being naturally small enough, you went to the academy.
Yeah, I had a few problems getting into the academy with my height and my weight. But one person I have to thank for helping me is my Uncle Gilbert. For a good 2 years, standing 6 and 7, I barely ate.
Yeah.
He made sure that I was keeping my weight down, and that they would accept me.
And you battle with your weight today. I know I take the mickey out of you, but you really do battle with your weight.
Yeah, one thing I would like to change of my childhood is I went to a rugby school in standard 6 and 7. So even though I wasn't eating a lot, I was doing a lot of physical training in order to play rugby and stuff like that. And I built a lot of muscle, and particularly in my legs. And I think that's where I battle. So
what's your sort of riding weight at this stage?
At the moment, I'm battling quite a lot. I'm sticking around the 57 rides.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to get a little bit lighter and maybe travel a bit more.
You got a cousin who obviously works for Spike, Spike's son. He works for Spike, but your other cousin is a fascinating guy, the boxer.
Yeah, Kev's very fascinating. We grew up on the farm together, mainly Kevin and our Uncle Anton and my mom. They each had a cottage on my grand and grandfather's farm, and we used to eat, sleep, everything horses. We had our own two little ponies, a little thoroughbred and a pony. And the moment we got home from school, we wouldn't even take off our uniform. We'd get straight on the horses. He also really wanted to be a jock, but his father was saying from back in the day that he's got bricklayer's hands. So I think that's what stopped him. And now he's following in another career, and he's doing very well. We're very proud of him.
He's a very, very good boxer, isn't he?
He is.
Kevin.
He's very quick. His brother actually was a boxer when we were lighties, and I think he sort of followed in his footsteps.
Well, what is he? He's just turned professional, hasn't he?
He's just turned professional. I think he's got a title fight coming up soon. I think actually quite soon, could be next week, for the cruiserweight title.
He's a big guy. He's not a flyweight or whatever.
No, he's a big guy. He should be in the heavyweights. I think he's a right weight to be in heavyweights, but I think his managers are just keeping him at cruiserweight for now.
Okay.
And I think they're going to take it from there.
And he's unbeaten, isn't he?
He's unbeaten, and he likes to knock them out early. Southpaw, like Mike Tyson. I think one of his role models is Mike Tyson.
Yeah. And I keep in touch with him on Facebook and Twitter, because he's fascinating. He gives you the updates the whole time.
Oh yeah, he loves broadcasting himself, and that's what the people love. They like to follow their guys. Like, you got all these things on Twitters and Facebooks, and they follow you, and he keeps them up to date.
The arena that I think probably had the most influence, and I think he's one of your nicest uncles, is Gilbert. He's been a fantastic guy. I know he's big mates with my golfing buddy, Mark McCann.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend. He was basically my father figure once my grandfather passed away, and he's been really staunch towards me. Phones me every race meeting, phones me after every race meeting on the way home, he phones me, told me, keep your chin up. You know, he's always there for me.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But the family's still pretty close.
Yeah, we are pretty close. You know, we never not in communication. We're always speaking to each other, and we're always touching base. It's what my grandfather and grandmother always wanted. Yeah. We always used to have Sunday lunches on the farm. We always used to play cricket and have a braai and spend time together. We've always been very close, and it's nice that it's staying that way.
Now, Tex's son, Gavin, okay, who's your cousin, you're sort of a bit in his shadow, and you should be getting out of his shadow.
Yeah, it's been like it ever since the academy, Mr. Goodman. I ran second to Gavin 3 times in the championship. Yeah. And only when he qualified I could take over and win the championship. But, you know, he's a great rider, and he's someone's shadow that I don't mind falling into.
Do you get on well with him?
We do. We were a lot closer, but I think because of the competitive nature of the sport, we're not as close as we used to be. But yeah, we're pretty close.
You've married well. You married the prettiest girl in racing, and you've got some lovely children. Tell us about your family.
Oh, my wife's a soldier.
Carla, tell us about
We met
Carla.
at a very young age.
Yeah.
People thought we were crazy. People still think we're crazy. Met her when I was in my second year at the academy, and I knew this is the one. Oh. Married at 20, which is very rare nowadays. And we've got 2 beautiful kids. She's given me 2 beautiful kids, a daughter named Faith and my little son Levi. And she's very staunch. You know, she helps me a lot with my weight and my confidence. You know, whenever I have a bit of a rough day, I can't wait to get home. You know, she always makes things feel better, and very grateful for her.
Well, she's from a racing family, and a good family.
Very good family, and they're also very staunch supporters of mine, and they do a lot for us. Steve and Sheps, they really look after us, and he's turned out to be a nice father figure for me. You know, we're getting close, and I really appreciate having him in my life.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with a bit of your riding career. Let's move on, and we'll be back. Well, there you go. The winners from Magic Millions, one trained by me, one trained by Laff, Adams Rock, Royal Tasca, Goldie Coast and Brom Billy. We bought them together at the sale. Both look quite nice horses. We think that we'll go back this year and see if we can find another couple of horses like that. But back to Brandon. Okay, then now you've done the academy, but Gavin beat you every time. You're going to go get out there and beat him. It must be about time that you start sort of really attacking him now.
Well, there was one year where I thought I was quite stiff. I got 2 suspensions quite close toward the end of the season. There wasn't a lot in it between Gav and myself. But he did win. He won 4 championships in a row. He broke Mace Roberts' record. So it was very hard to knock him off the championship. But there's a time and a place where it's going to happen, where we're going to knock horns.
Yeah.
And I'm getting myself ready for that day.
Your first real big break came when you found War Artist.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
He's an amazing story, Mr. Goodman. Both Carla and my wife were riding work for Tony Rivlin. I actually stole him away from Carla. Spotted him one down the track, and he was one of those special horses that you just feel that presence from them. I think we never really saw the best of him. I wish that he did stay in South Africa. What he done was pretty phenomenal. He ran in the Golden Horse Sprint, and he was getting 8 kilos from Mythical Flight. And 2 weeks later, or not 2 months later, he turned it around with an 8 kg swing. I think he was a really good horse. I think it'll be hard to find another special horse like that.
Well, that was in the Mercury, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was at set weight, so there was no pull, and he came out on tops.
And that was your first grade 1 winner?
Yeah, that was my first grade 1 winner. Tony Rivlin trained him up until that point, and then Mr. Brown brought him for Mr. Atkinson. At that time, I was riding for Mr. Brown. And that was my first Group 1 winner.
War Artist, we know, went overseas, went to be based in France, and certainly ran with distinction in some of the biggest Group 1 races all over the world. He was a very, very good horse.
Yeah, he was. He ran a very good second in that sprint race on Arc Week.
Prix de l'Abbé.
Prix de l'Abbé. I think that was his best overseas run. But he held his own for a good couple of years. I was quite surprised he stayed sound for so long.
When you get on a horse like that, just tell us about, do you immediately feel this is something special? This is a horse?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. It's almost like you're in the presence of some celebrity. They just give off that kind of vibe, and everything's just so easy for them. Just nothing phases them. They just go about it like they're born to do it.
And have you ridden many others like him?
I wouldn't compare any other ones to War Artist. I think he's one of my special ones.
All right. Well, then things have been going along pretty nicely, and you found Gavin Funzel.
Yeah, I've been very lucky with Gav. He sometimes benches me, but I think that's part and parcel. Make a few mistakes, and he makes me, serve a bit of a punishment. So he makes sure that I learn from a mistake, and it seems to be helping. I'm learning a lot every day in and day out.
Well, I think one of the best races you ever rode was winning the Group 1 this season in the eThekwini on a long camp poly. And we're going to have a look at that race, and you can talk us through it. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah. Brandon, obviously you felt there was no pace. Tell us how you worked out what you're going to do and what happened in the race.
The only concern, barring that there was no pace, was that you didn't have a lot of gate speed. So she was still a little bit slow at the gates, and I had to use up quite a lot. But because once I got there, Pierre got in front of me and eased it up nicely, which was perfect. And I knew she was going to sprint on from then. She's a very good filly. We're very lucky to get her from Duncan, and very nice for Uncle Brian.
Well, you tucked in there second, but I think that the winning move comes exactly as you turn for home. What made you decide where you're going to go from here? Give us what's going through your brain at this stage.
At this stage, Pierre's he steadied the race up to suit him. I'm in the right position. I don't have anyone on my outside, so I couldn't make a move on the outside. I think the main thing that I done here was come out for a run. Pierre usually will try to ride you into the rail, But
And that what you were thinking here, because
Yeah.
that was the master move, I thought, is that you actually moved out for a run here, which actually gave you the run on everything.
yeah, and I was also able to build a little bit of momentum just before we turned for home. I just steadied it off Pierre's heels. He was obviously going to sprint just before we turned for home after he slowed the pace down, and she picked it up on her own, and she saved a little bit for the end, and she kicked on well.
Fantastic feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, group races are just amazing to win. They don't come by often, and when they do, you savor the moment.
Well, the point is that if you'd probably been sitting 4th or 5th and you hadn't really got in the right position, you might not have won it.
Yeah, it was imperative for me to be in a striking position because there was no pace, and obviously a little bit of luck is involved there. I could have got squeezed out at the start, or anything could have happened. But on the day we were lucky and we came out in the winners' box.
Okay, no, and you ride for some very nice owners there. This Buffalo Bill, his wife, they're good people.
Very good people, and their love for the game is amazing. They've only been in it for a short while, and you can just see the passion, the passion they show towards their horses. One run at Scottsville, they'll be there, whole family.
Yeah.
Win, lose or draw, they'll be happy as long as they see their horses running. It's lovely.
How did he get involved?
Gav told me the story. He met him at the clubhouse, and Uncle Brian said to Gavin, I want to buy a horse. So he said, no problem, and they went to the track, and I think his first horse was Lady Tatty. That was his first buy, and he's really been bitten by the bug now. He's got a full string of horses to his name.
Nice people to deal with?
Very nice people, very humble people. Yeah, they're very humble, and they really appreciate, when you really ride a good race, they're really appreciative, and they acknowledge you for that.
What other horses have you got in the yard that you really think might come to the fore in the next year or so?
I think No Worries is a horse to
Is he
consider.
that good?
I really think he's good, Mr. Goodman. He's running. I think he actually, if we had known that he needed the blinkers in the Gauteng, I think he would have won that day. He moved up and he was just looking around a little bit too much, and he got closed in. He finished a good 4th, but I think had he had the blinkers on that day, I think he would have won.
So what is he getting prepared for this year?
He's gone to Cape Town. I think Gav's got the Queen's Plate in mind and the Met.
Yeah.
I think those two will be his main targets.
So will you be travelling to Cape Town and riding there?
Yes, Gav did say the other day that I am going to be going to Cape Town. I leave it up to him. I don't want to put too much pressure on him.
Yeah.
He's got enough pressure on his plate, But I hope that I win a few features in Cape Town this season.
And you get on well with Gavin's sons?
Yes. Oh, they're both gentlemen, Chesney and Gareth. Look, Gavin's whole family are lovely people to be around. They're actually very nice people.
Okay, your future's ahead of you, and you obviously have got some aims and aspirations. What do you really want to do with yourself as a jockey, and then from there on?
I think that my main goal is to win championships, Mr. Goodman, and Group 1 races. If I can have a honours roll like Carl Nieses or Anton Marcus or Anthony Dalpesh, where they have a whole list of Group 1 winners, a whole list of championships, I think that will be the cherry on the cake for me.
Do you think that you're driven enough to get there?
I am. I believe in being patient. I'm still very young. I'm only 26. And Anton's in his prime now, and I think he's in his early 40s. So I'm patient. I'm just trying to keep my feet on the ground, and it will come. I will start pushing.
What's your favourite day out after the races?
That would have to be with my family, Mr. Goodman.
And what do you eat? What do you like eating?
What do I like eating?
Yeah, it looks like your steak and chips, man.
Yeah, no, I'll hold the chips. But a good steak every now and then with a good glass of wine to complement it. That's about my favourite.
You've been in racing all your life. There are obviously things that you think can be improved in racing. What would you, if you were in charge or you had some sort of say, how would you go about putting things right?
I don't think it's up to the people in charge of racing itself, Mr. Goodman. I think it's the people involved.
Yeah.
Guys like us, like the normal people. They need to, you know, just make that little bit more of an effort to come to races and make it happen. I think it's all on us. TV's made it a bit hard for the racing operators and so forth to pull people to the races. But there's so many people that enjoy the game. They just need to make the effort and come to the races.
Well, what do you think is the problem as far as getting people to the races? Do you think they've got new plans at Greyville? Do you think they'll make a difference? And those plans look like they...
Yeah, I think they will. I like the fact that they're going to be involving younger people. I think that's a good draw card. You know, having a draw here on a Friday night, people are going to know it. It's like Friday night racing at Greyville. I think the 3A syndicate boys are doing a good job of bringing young people in.
They're a good bunch of guys. Are you mates with them?
Yeah, they're a good party, eh? I think if they can also, if the racing operators can use them as a draw card, I think that would work.
Well, you know, Wesley Bowman comes from a long line of sort of racing people, bookmakers and whatever, so they've been involved, but it seems very hard to pull in other people that are not coming from a racing background.
Yeah, it is very hard, Mr. Goodman, and there's only so few of us that are, you know, born into it. But I think Wesley and his crew, they're not all people that have been born into racing. They slowly caught on and slowly got bitten by the bug. I think it's also another thing about you just got to be a little bit patient.
Okay, let's wrap it up and find out what Brandon Lerena really would like to be in 10 years' time.
I'd really like to be a champion, Mr. Goodman, and I'd like to win more than one July, more than one Met, more than one Summer Cup. That would be my real goal.
You've got to be with the right stable.
I think I got that right. I think Gavin's got a bright future ahead of him as a trainer. I think both his sons also. So if I could just keep it going there, I think I'll be all right.
Well, you know what, Brandon, we wish you the very, very best as a jockey. You're the most likable guy in the jockey room. It's hard not to give you rides, although, you know, we do think that the effort might be a little bit, you know, stronger. But you have got a lot of what it takes to make a champion jockey. I think you can do it and get out there, and we wish you very, very well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodman.
And well with your family too, because you've got a wonderful family around you, and it's just been fantastic having you in the studio.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be on the show. I think you guys should change the name to A Good Laugh. Winning Way seems to be doing it.
Brandon Lerena, always a pleasure having one of these young guys who are absolutely driven to get out there and do his best and get out and win some races for us and for all the punters out there who love to be able to follow these guys, and we wish them the very best. The Lerena family, as you've heard, has been synonymous with racing, and Brandon is at the forefront with his young cousin Gavin. We wish them all the best. From me, James Goodman, and the Winning Ways crew, you have a great week's racing.
Second position, but Military Roses giving them a bath. That's one of the biggest millions I've ever seen. Graceful Anna, the leader. Graceful Anna. Graceful Anna.